My first anxiety attack happened when I was at university. I was studying BCom, and one of the requirements for BCom is to have accountancy as one of your subjects. I didn't have accountancy at school. So university was my first introduction to the topic. And we had a lecturer that would stand in front of the class and he would always say, whatever he was talking about that day, he would always say, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. And at the end of the year, when I had to write exam, we never got back to that. A couple of times I went to his classroom, his lecture hall, or his office, whatever you want to call it, to ask him for advice because I didn't get anything in class. And you know, when you have that lecherous man that looks at your body instead of looking you in the eye and answering your questions, he was one of those. So I didn't bother to go back to his office asking for questions. Needless to say, I didn't pass my accounting. And the day of the exam, I can still remember I had this intense panic attack where I was hyperventilating, I was crying, and the only way that I could get out of it was my roommate slapped me. And that sort of brought me back to reality. And I realized I was having a panic attack because my palms were sweating. I felt like a heart attack because my heart was pounding so much. And that was my introduction to anxiety and to panic attacks. So welcome to Breaking the Boundary Loop webinar tonight. Anxiety is not just in your head. So what you will learn tonight is it lives in your body, in your nervous system, in your daily habits, and in the beliefs that you've carried around since childhood. That's why telling yourself to relax doesn't work. Your body is already in fight or flight mode, and your brain is running on empty. Your brain creates an anxiety loop. Something triggers you, a deadline at work, a text that you've just received, and your body reacts, your heart races, your thoughts spiral, and then your brain links that physical feeling back to fear. And around you go, reliving stress and fear in a loop. Once you understand the loop, you can learn how to break it. And that is what we are diving into tonight. Think about the last time you couldn't sleep because your brain wouldn't switch off, or when you snapped at someone you loved. Those are anxiety triggers. In this session, I will show you how to recognize those triggers before they blow up, and before they blow up your day, your relationships, and your sleep. You will receive practical tools that you can use immediately, tools that you can pull out whenever you are on the edge of panic before a meeting or when your mind won't shut up at 2 a.m. Because knowledge is great, but action is what changes lives. What you will walk away with tonight is you'll stop feeling like anxiety is this big scary monster. You will see that the exact map of how the anxiety loop works inside your mind and your body. So you can literally see how it sneaks in, grabs hold, and keeps you stuck. Once you can see the loop, you can break the loop. You'll leave with 5 tools that I will share with you today that you can start using immediately. These are simple but powerful exercises that breaks the cycle of anxiety. You'll finally feel like you have a toolbox instead of empty hands. Most people believe that they are anxious people. That's not true. Anxiety is a loop that your brain has learned to run. So once you understand that, you can stop identifying with it and you can start seeing it for what it really is, a habit that can be unlearned. This is where the weight starts lifting off your shoulders. You'll realize, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. My brain is just running a program and I can rewrite it. That relief, that freedom is priceless. It's the difference between feeling like you are drowning and realizing somebody is handing you a life raft. So you might ask yourself, why me? I only coach on topics that I have personal experience in. I've coached countless of women who were stuck in environments that slowly chipped away at their confidence and at their sanity. Brilliant, capable women. Yet every day they woke up with that dreadful knot in their stomachs already rehearsing the battles that they were going to face that day. I know exactly what it feels like to live with anxiety, breathing down your neck, showing up in your body, in your work, and in your relationships. I've walked this path myself. I've studied it deeply, and I've built a proven method that has helped women break free from the same loop that once trapped me. So when I say I know exactly how to help you interrupt the anxiety cycle and step into peace again, it's not just knowledge. It's a lived experience combined with a system that works. So you might ask, what is anxiety? Anxiety is your body's built-in alarm system, and it's designed to protect you. It's a natural response when your brain perceives danger, real or imagined. At its core, it triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. Your heart races, your breathing changes, your muscles tense, and your mind goes on high alert. We're running from deadlines, toxic bosses, and the constant ping of emails. So anxiety isn't madness or weakness. It's a normal system being overworked in an environment that constantly demands too much. Anxiety shows up sneakily in everyday ways. It's the knot in your stomach before you get out of bed. It's rereading an email 12 times before you hit send. It's lying awake in the middle of the night, your mind running marathons about conversations that has never happened. It's saying yes when you desperately want to say no, because the fear of conflict feels bigger than your own needs. Anxiety isn't just in your head, it's a whole body experience, emotional, physical, and mental. Stress is your reaction to an external pressure, like a deadline. When the pressure lifts, the stress usually fades, but anxiety lingers even when there's no obvious trigger. Anxiety isn't just a one-time event. It's a loop. A thought sparks worry, and that worry creates a physical response. Your heart races, you've got shallow breathing. You notice those symptoms and you panic more. This creates a new anxiety thought, and around you go. Anxiety is something that everyone is experiencing. It's your body's way of saying something isn't right. Slow down, pay attention. When you learn to interrupt the loop, and you learn how to shift your nervous system and build a new pattern, you will be taking back your steering wheel. So let's look at the anxiety loop. Everything starts with a trigger. The trigger may be something small, a thought, a situation, an email, a meeting, or even just a feeling in your body. The brain sees it as a threat. For example, you might ask yourself, what am I not good enough in my job? That creates a fear response. The body instantly flips into survival mode. Adrenaline and cortisol spikes. Your heart races, your muscles tense, and your stomach flips. You feel a wave of dread, panic, and unease. And then, of course, the negative thoughts come in. The brain now looks for proof of the threat, and your thoughts spiral. They'll see that I'm not good enough. I'll fail. I can't handle this. Something is wrong with me. These thoughts aren't reality. They are stories, but they feel real because the body is physically reacting to it. And then you get the avoidance or the coping mechanism. To escape the discomfort, people either avoid the trigger or use unhealthy coping strategies. They are either overworking, they are applying perfectionism to whatever they are doing, they are people-pleasing, they are numbing with food, alcohol, or they're scrolling on social media the whole day. In the short term, this brings relief, but long term, it reinforces the idea that, see, I can't handle this. And then you get, to the reinforcement of the belief. Each time avoidance happens, the brain stamps the false belief deeper. I'm not safe. You can't trust me. The world is dangerous. This belief makes the trigger feel even bigger. And the cycle repeats. You run faster, you get more exhausted, but you're still stuck in the same loop. So the question is, why do people stay stuck in the anxiety loop? Because they think anxiety is them instead of something that is happening to them. They never identify the trigger or the fear or the thought or the avoidance pattern. They believe the loop is reality, not a faulty program running in their brain. So how do you break this anxiety loop? Well, firstly, through awareness. The very first step is noticing. Ask yourself, what trigger is this feeling? What is it? Was it a conversation, an email, a memory? Notice how it shows up in your body. Do you have a racing heart? Is your breathing shallow? Are you tense? Is your shoulders tense and do you have sweaty palms? Recognize your thoughts. I'm going to fail. They don't like me. I can't cope. Awareness puts you back in the driver's seat. Once you can name it, you can tame it. The next thing is to interrupt the pattern. Anxiety loops spin because we fuel them with avoidance, worry, and overthinking. To break the loop, you need to press pause. So let's try this, for example. The technique is called box breathing. You inhale for 4 breaths, then you hold it for 4 breaths. You exhale for 4 breaths, and then you hold it again for 4 breaths. So you can repeat this on a cycle of 3 or 4 times. That calms your nervous system. You can do journaling. Write the anxious thoughts down. Once it's on paper, it's no longer bouncing around in your head. You can also take micro actions. That is to reply to the email instead of overthinking about it, making the call, and stepping outside. This weakens the loop's grip by interrupting the rhythm. You can challenge the belief. So you can reframe your thoughts in the process to your advantage. Most anxiety isn't about the situation itself. It's about the story we're telling ourselves. You might have an old belief that it can say, I can't do this. Your new belief that you can say is, I may not know everything, but I can learn as I go. The old belief might be, if I make a mistake, I'll look stupid. The new belief, mistakes are proof that I'm trying and growing. So I want to give you an example. If you are in a situation, say for instance, you are in a toxic workplace and you fear going to the job every single day and you fear the interaction with your boss because you might think that whatever you are doing is not good enough. I want you to make and take a worst case scenario of what can happen. What can happen in a situation like that? Let's take it that you can lose your job. What is going to be the consequences of losing your job? And work through the whole environment, work through the whole scene as you play it down. Do I need to sell my house? Do I need to sell my car? Do I need to go and live with a family member? Go through everything in the worst case scenario. And once you've written all of that down, ask yourself, what are the chances of this really happening? And if you work through everything, you would get to the bottom line and says, the chances of this actually happening is not really that realistic. So by playing out the worst case scenario, whatever happens to you is a bargain. And you can learn how to challenge and how to work in a toxic workplace. The next thing that you can do is you can build tolerance. Avoidance feeds anxiety. Every time we avoid, the brain gets the message, yes, this is really dangerous. And the antidote to that is gradual exposure. Break big fears into tiny, manageable steps. For example, if presentations scare you, start by practicing in front of a mirror, and then in front of a friend, and then in front of a small group. Celebrate small wins. Each one rewires the brain with confidence. I always tell my clients that have a jar, you know, these nice coffee bottles, Jacobs or whatever. Have a clear jar that you can see through. And every day, write down your wins that you have on post-it notes. You can fold it together and make a small square, but put it in the jar. It must be a clear glass jar so that you can see what's happening inside. Start at the beginning of the month, and every single day, write down your small win and put it in the jar. As the month continues, that jar is going to fill up. And at the end of the month, you get a big A4 envelope and you put that month's small wins in that envelope and you put it in a lever arch file. So your jar is now clear for the next month. And you do this for every single month of the year. At the end of the year, you've got a big pile of envelopes, well, 12 to be exact, and you can go through all of them and you can actually see what was your real wins for that year. It doesn't need to be a contract that you've signed for R1,000,000 or whatever. It can be making a difference in somebody else's life in that day. You gave somebody a compliment and they had a smile on their face. That's a small win because you've changed somebody's perspective of how they see themselves for that actual day. Record every small win. And then you rewire the brain. With repetition, your brain learns a new message. I'm safe. I can handle this. Each loop you break lays down a new neural pathway. Over time, triggers that once sent you into panic mode lose their power. The cycle of anxiety becomes a cycle of resilience. And this is where long-term freedom begins. Anxiety stops being the boss of you. Breaking the anxiety loop isn't about never feeling anxious again. It's about learning how to step off the hamster wheel and reclaim your control. When you practice awareness, interrupt the pattern, challenge beliefs, build tolerance, and rewire your brain, you don't just manage anxiety, you transform your relationship with it. I want to give you a quick exercise. Think of the last time you had an anxious moment and then ask yourself these questions.
Today.
What was your trigger? What did your body do?
Yes.
Can I just ask that everybody just mute their lines if they don't have a question, please? What did your body do? What thoughts followed? And did you avoid it? This is your loop and you have to identify. You get different types of anxiety. The very first one is generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. It feels like you are constantly worrying about everything and nothing at the same time. Your brain never switches off. The signs of this is you are overthinking every decision, big or small. You are feeling restless, keyed up, and always on edge. You've got trouble sleeping because the mind is racing. And physical symptoms like muscle tension, headaches, and fatigue appears. In the workplace, it can show up as replaying conversations, over-preparing for emails, and double-checking work that mistakes don't exist. Then you get your panic disorder. That is a sudden, intense wave of fear that seems to come out of nowhere. The signs of panic attacks are with a racing heart, sweating, shortness of breath, feeling like you are going crazy or dying. In the workplace, it comes up as avoiding presentations and meetings. My sister suffered from severe panic attacks. She had a lung condition. So once a month, I would go and visit her and my mother, and I would have a sleepover. And the last time I was there, my mom was already in bed with the lights off. I was in bed getting ready, and Alta called me, and she said to come to her room. And as I walked into the bedroom, she was sitting on the side of the bed, and there's a chair in front of her. And she was sitting on the edge of the bed, and she said, please just sit in this chair and talk to me. I said, what's going on? She says, I'm having a panic attack. And well, she struggled to breathe on the best of days, but you can actually see that the breathing was more labored. I said, oh, so what's happening? What's going on? And she said, whenever it gets dark and whenever we go to bed and I'm alone, I get a panic attack because I can't breathe. Just sit there and talk to me and let me get through this. And that's what I did. I held her hand. We talked about nonsense. We talked about stupid things, things that didn't matter. But I just had to get her attention away from herself. So eventually I tucked her in. I put the pillows right. I put the covers over her. And I dimmed the light and I sat there and I waited until she fell asleep. And only then did I go to bed. So that was the panic attack. Then you get social anxiety disorder. It is an extreme fear of being judged, embarrassed, or rejected. The common signs of that is you dread social events, you dread speaking in meetings or doing networking events. You avoid eye contact, over-analyzing on how you came across. In the workplace, it pitches up as skipping team lunches, staying silent in meetings, and not putting yourself forward for promotions. Social anxiety can occur in big crowds. I myself don't do well in crowds, and I get panicky when there's a lot of people and loud noises. So we once attended a launch of a product, I can't remember when, but you know when the organizers play these loud music and they get the people to jump around and to sing along, I lost, it was just too much. I actually walked out of the event and I sat outside for the whole day because I could, it was sensory overload to me. So now when I know I have to go to an event, I take my earplugs with, and it actually works like a charm because it dulls the sound, but you can still hear what's going on, but it's not that intense. Then you have phobias, that is specific anxieties. It's an intense fear of specific things or situations. And common signs of those are irrational but uncontrolled fear. It might be spiders, it might be heights, it might be needles. You will go out of your way to avoid these triggers, an overreaction that feels embarrassing to admit. It can happen in the workplace as well, and you can avoid business travel because of this, refusing presentations, or feeling paralyzed by irrational fears others don't get. A friend of mine has got an intense fear of spiders. And one time we went camping and she was in the bathroom and we just heard her screaming. And as we ran inside, she was about to open the door. And as she stuck her hand out to open the door, there was a spider sitting right next to the door handle. Now she's terrified of spiders. We had to break the door down from the outside, grab her hand and pull her out because she totally went numb. She couldn't move. So that is a phobia. Then you get obsessive compulsive disorders or OCD. And it feels like unwanted repetitive thoughts and the urge to perform. Common signs of those are checking, cleaning, counting, or repeating actions, needing certainty before moving forward, and anxiety spikes if the ritual isn't completed. In the workplace, it can sign up for double-checking spreadsheets 10 times, rewriting the same email, and not being able to leave until everything just feels right. Does this sound familiar? How many times do you check the doors at night before you go to bed? Did you switch on the house alarm when you left? How many of you have turned around to go and check that you've done that? And then, of course, is the bedroom door closed so that the cat doesn't set off the alarm? That is what's happening in our house. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, that is reliving a traumatic event for long after it's over. Common signs are flashbacks, nightmares, intrusive thoughts. You avoid reminders of the trauma. You feel hypervigilant, easily startled, or emotionally numb. The triggers that can happen in the workplace might be loud noises, aggressive bosses, or conflict, difficulty concentrating and staying present. So I'm asking you, does certain smells trigger the memory of what happened to you? Health anxiety or hypochondria. This is a constant fear that something is wrong with your health. Common signs are that you are Googling symptoms late at night. You ever heard about being the Google doctor or asking for Google to diagnose you? Regular doctor visits never feel reassuring. You are hyper aware of every ache, flutter, or twinge. In the workplace, it can cause you to miss work because you have to go for tests, obsessing over illness, or being distracted by fear of what is something is wrong. And then you have separation anxiety. It is a fear of losing being away from a loved one. The signs might be extreme distress when apart from somebody you love. It's worrying that harm will come to them, and you've got difficulty focusing when separated. In adults, it shows up in relationships and sometimes in parents who feel anxious when leaving children. I've been working from home since lockdown, and we've got 4 dogs, and they've gotten so used to us being at home all the time that when we leave, especially George, he howls for at least an hour after we've left. So pets can also suffer from separation anxiety. Where does this show up? And what are the symptoms? It shows up at work. On the outside, you look like the dedicated employee, always double checking your emails, attending every meeting, never missing a deadline. But inside it's chaos. You overthink every single email. You rewrite a 2-liner response 10 times because you're terrified of sounding stupid or being too direct. You hitting send feels like walking in a minefield. Doubting every decision that you make. Even small choices feels monumental and you second guess yourself on everything. You've got performance anxiety. You constantly worry that you are being judged, evaluated, or that one mistake can cause you to be found out. You suffer from imposter syndrome. Anxiety feeds the thought that you are not worthy of the position. And the interesting thing is that imposter syndrome is most common with professional women that just stepped into a new high position. The result? Work stops being a job and becomes a battlefield where the enemy is your own mind. It also shows up at home. You think that your home would be a safe zone, the place to just be, but anxiety follows you through the door. You snap at your loved ones. You're on edge, so the smallest thing, dishes left in the sink, a child's question, or your partner's comment, sets you off. And then you feel awful for overreacting. Then you hit the guilt spiral. After snapping, you stew in guilt. Why can't I just be calmer? Why do I ruin every evening? Anxiety turns family time into a tug of war between your irritation and your guilt. You suffer from exhaustion. You're so mentally drained from holding it together at work that home gets the leftovers and your loved one notices it. You feel disconnection. Instead of being present, your mind is somewhere else, replaying that awkward conversation from earlier. At home, anxiety steals the peace you crave and replaces it with tension and distance. It also shows up in your body. You will have a racing heart. Your body pumps adrenaline if you're running a marathon, even though you are sitting in a meeting. You have sweaty palms. Anxiety triggers your fight or flight response, so your body literally thinks the danger is around the corner. You suffer from insomnia. Your brain won't shut down at night, running thoughts of what ifs. The more you need rest, the harder it is to fall asleep. And your stomach is in like a knot, and you've got digestive issues. The gut is often called the second brain. When anxiety is high, digestion slows or speeds up, leaving you with cramps, nausea, or that pit in the stomach feeling. You also suffer from muscle tension. You've got a clenched jaw. Your shoulders are in knots. You suffer from back pain. Your body braces itself without you even realizing it. And then it shows up in your mind. And this is where anxiety does its most sneaky, damaging work. It is the stories and the thoughts that run on repeat. It is your what-if spirals. Your brain runs endless scenarios. What if I mess up? What if they're angry? What if I fail? But never lands on an answer. Then you catastrophize everything. One small mistake turns into, this will ruin everything. Anxiety always imagines the worst possible outcome. And then you suffer from constant self-doubt. Every accomplishment feels like luck. Every setback feels like proof that you are not good enough. You're never fully confident in your abilities. You are mentally overloaded. Your thoughts race so quickly. It feels impossible to concentrate, remember, or relax. And then you have the inner critic. Your anxiety partners with a harsh inner voice, turning every rest into guilt. You should be doing more, not lying on the couch and reading a book. In your mind, anxiety rewrites reality, convincing you that danger is everywhere, and even when you are safe. I want to give you an exercise. You are all familiar with Harry Potter, correct? And you all know what Dobby looks like. Dobby is this small little figurine with no hair, ears that flop all around, big nose. He wears a loincloth and he's got this squeaky voice. I want you to name your inner critic, and I want you to give your inner critic a voice. Mine looks like Dobby, and his voice sounds like somebody that's sucked on a helium balloon. And I give him a name of Critical Charlie. And whenever I have my inner critic comes up, Critical Charlie is sitting here on my shoulder. And I say, okay, Charlie, you've got 5 minutes. Go for gold. Do your best. Say whatever you want to say. Make me feel guilty about whatever you want me to feel guilty about. But you've got 5 minutes. And after those 5 minutes, you are out of here because I'm not going to tolerate anymore. So Charlie throws his toys and tells me whatever he wants to tell me. And I just keep quiet and I let everything run in my mind. And it's like literally taking a rugby ball at the end and kicking it over the goalposts. And I say, Charlie, you are done. Good night. I'm not entertaining you any further. So name your inner critic. Make it as laughable as you can, the figurine, the meme that you want to give it. Give it a squeaky voice, but only give it 5 minutes of your time. And that's all that you're going to tolerate. And then you move back to who you really are. What are your triggers? You have to identify what your triggers are. It might be a toxic work environment or a micromanaging boss. Imagine walking into the office every day, already bracing yourself for the next blow, the criticism, the passive-aggressive emails, the feeling that nothing you do is ever good enough. Toxic workplaces act like a pressure cooker for anxiety. The constant surveillance or the micromanagement sends your nervous system into overdrive, making you hyper alert and on edge, as if danger is always around the corner. Over time, your brain learns to stay in survival mode. So even small tasks feel overwhelming and the rest never feels possible. Then you have unrealistic expectations and perfectionism. Perfectionism whispers, if it's not flawless, it's a failure. Pair that with unrealistic expectation from bosses, colleagues, or even yourself, and you're stuck in an endless cycle of chasing a moving target. Anxiety thrives here because your nervous system is constantly flooding with what if I mess up messages. Even when you succeed, you can't relax because the bar just moved that bit higher. This creates mental treadmill where exhaustion and self-doubt pile up. I've worked with a couple of clients where they put so much expectation on themselves because of perfectionism that they are constantly on edge. Even when a presentation went well, they will ask themselves what they could have done better. And they never celebrate small wins because they see themselves as not good enough. It could have been better. So people pleasing and lack of boundaries. Saying yes when you really want to scream no is a fast track to anxiety. And the most important thing that you have to realize is whenever you say yes to somebody else, you're actually saying no to yourself. People pleasers absorb anyone else's stress, workload, and emotional baggage. Without boundaries, your life feels like it belongs to everyone but you. This builds hidden resentment, burnout, and the feeling that you are never in control of your time and energy. Anxiety shows up as guilt for not doing enough or fear that people reject you if you finally say no. Then you have unprocessed trauma and fear of failure. You see failure as a weakness. Every mistake feels catastrophic and every risk feels life-threatening. And the last one is you believe that you are never good enough. This is the deadliest trigger of them all. The voice in your head always says, I'm not smart enough, not experienced enough, not thin enough, not worthy enough. Anxiety feeds on these beliefs because it keeps you in a cycle of proving, striving, and hustling for validation. Even when you achieve something, it never feels like enough because deep down, you don't feel like you are enough. This underlying trigger often drives all the others: perfectionism, people pleasing, overwork, and fear of failure. It's like the root system of anxiety, invisible but powerful. The effects that limiting beliefs have on anxiety. Anxiety doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's often rooted in the stories that we tell ourselves. These stories or limiting beliefs are like background programs running in your mind, quietly shaping how you see yourself, others, or the world. They become the fuel that feeds anxiety, turning small sparks of stress into full-blown fires of panic, overthinking, and self-doubt. The first limiting belief is I'm not good enough. This one is the most common one and it's sneaky. It pushes you towards perfectionism, like we just said, obsessing over tiny details, rewriting that report 10 times, and over preparing for every presentation. Instead of celebrating your wins, you discount them. You say either it was just luck or anybody could have done this. Over time, this belief burns you out because nothing ever feels like enough, no matter how much you achieve. If I fail, I'll be rejected. This belief ties your worth to external approval. It creates avoidance and procrastination because failure feels like a threat to your identity, not just an outcome. You avoid risks, asking for a promotion, starting a new project, even voicing your opinion, because the possibility of rejection feels unbearable. And the irony is, avoidance increases anxiety. It teaches your brain that this situation is dangerous, better keep running. And then the last one, you can't handle this. This belief magnifies anxiety into panic because it convinces your nervous system that you are powerless. Every challenge feels overwhelming. The racing heart, proof that you're not coping. The overthinking, it's evidence that you are losing control. When you believe that you can't handle it, your body reacts as if you are under attack. You lose confidence in your resilience and your anxiety snowballs. Your beliefs act as the petrol in the fire of anxiety. A stressful event might be the match, but the belief system is what keeps it burning. And the good news? Beliefs are not facts. They're learning patterns. And everything learned can be unlearned and rewritten. Let's do some reframing. If you are used to saying, I'm not good enough, change that into, I'm learning and growing and improving. If you are used to saying, if I fail, I will be rejected, change that and say, failure is feedback, not a death sentence. If you're used to saying, I can't handle this, change it to, I've handled harder things before. I can handle this one too. By identifying the challenges and the limiting beliefs, people begin to break the anxiety loop. Let's understand the fears behind anxiety. The first one is the fear of the unknown. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. When you don't know what's coming next, whether it's a job change, a health scare, or even just waiting for an email response, your brain fills in the blanks with worst case scenarios. This fear makes you overplan, overthink, and overstruggle to relax because unpredictability feels unsafe. You get the fear of success. Yeah, that's strange, but it's true. Some people fear what will happen if things go right. Success can bring higher expectations, visibility, or pressure to maintain the results. So deep down, it can trigger the thought of, if I succeed, will I be able to keep it up? This creates self-sabotage, procrastination, or staying small to avoid the spotlight. You've got fear of abandonment. This is a quiet whisper of, if I don't keep everyone happy, they will leave me. This fuels people pleasing, saying yes when you actually want to say no, and tolerating toxic environments. The fear of being left out, excluded, or unloved keeps you walking on eggshells, which drives chronic anxiety in relationships and at work. Fear of physical symptoms. This is where anxiety loops in on itself. You feel your heart racing or your chest tightening, and instead of recognizing it as anxiety, you panic that something might be physically wrong with you. That panic triggers more symptoms, the racing thoughts, the shallow breathing, which reinforces the fear. And this fear of fear often shows up in panic disorders and health anxiety. These fears act like hidden fuel lines of anxiety. Until you identify which one is driving your loop, it keeps running in the background, keeping you stuck. I want to give you some exercises that we are going to be doing. And the first one is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Anxiety thrives in the future. Grounding brings you back to the present. So if you think about 5-4-3-2-1, the first one is where you are sitting right now. Look around and tell me 5 things that you can see. The aim of this exercise is to bring you out of your racing thoughts, and you're going to interrupt the cycle at the moment. So identify 5 things that you can see around you. The next one is you are going to identify 4 things that you can touch. I've got a marker here. I've got a pen. So you can identify 4 things that you can physically touch. The next one is focus on 3 things that you can hear. There's a motorcycle going down the road. George is lying on his pillow and his nail just scratched the cushion. And then I can actually hear birds outside still at this time of night. So 3 things that you can hear. 2 things that you can smell. That can be anything, that whatever you want, whatever you smell. I can smell my perfume. I can smell the coffee that I just had. And then the last one, number 1, is name one thing that you can taste. Like I said, I just had coffee. I can just still taste the coffee in my mouth. So that is the 5-4-3-2-1 exercise. This interrupts racing thoughts by forcing the brain to focus on physical surroundings, calming the nervous system. The second anxiety, I mentioned that before, is box breathing. But I bet you didn't know that the Navy SEALs use box breathing in combat to stay calm under fire. So if it works in war zones, I can promise you it's going to work in the boardroom as well. And just to show you again what it looks like is you inhale for 4 counts. You keep it for 4 counts. Then you exhale for 4 counts. And then you keep it again for 4 counts before you inhale for another 4. And you repeat this 3 or 4 times. This lowers your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, and it signals safety to your nervous system and restores a sense of control. The third one that I want to share with you is, I call it the thought dump journaling. Anxiety causes endless loops. So writing them down pulls them out of your head and puts it down on the paper. So grab a pen and paper or your phone with notes, whatever, and you set your timer for 2 minutes. And in that 2 minutes, you write down every single thought that comes into your mind. It doesn't need to make sense. You can just write down whatever you think about for 2 minutes. And when the timer ends, you circle the 1 or 2 top worries that you identify of what you've just written down. Writing down slows the brain, and circling helps you identify the real triggers instead of drawing on mental noise. And you're going to laugh about this one, but I call it the power pose. Your body tells your brain how to feel. And if you sit slumped like this and you want to make yourself as small as possible, your brain is going to hear that we are unsafe. But if you stand tall with your shoulders back and picture a piece of string attached to your head, at the top of your head, you know these marionettes that you get? If you take that piece of string and you pull it up straight and you stand as tall as you can and you push your shoulders back and you speak with authority, put your hands on your hips or at the side, wherever you want, and you keep that pose for 2 minutes. That's your power pose. And I can promise you, nobody's going to mess with you then. It boosts confidence and lowers stress, and it gives you, your nervous system, a pep talk without words. And the last one is the so what drill. Anxiety often escalates because we stop with what if. This exercise forces you to answer until the fear shrinks. So let me give you an example. Take your biggest worry at the moment. I'm going to say, what if I mess up this presentation? And I'm going to ask myself, so what? I'm going to answer, people might think I'm unprepared. So what? They might not take me seriously. So what? I'll feel embarrassed. So what? I'll survive, learn, and improve. And this works because following the fear is so logical, and it shows that even the worst case scenarios, you can handle it. Fear loses its grip once it's exposed. So how do you feel now compared to 2 minutes ago, if you've done the exercises with me? So let me check in with you. How many of you recognized yourself in at least one of the early warning signs that we've just covered? If you want, you can unmute your lines and let's have a discussion. So how many of you have recognized yourself in at least one of the early warning signs that we've covered? Next question. What would it feel like if you could catch anxiety before it spirals out of control? Would you like that? Which of the limiting beliefs we unpacked hits home the hardest for you? And after trying the exercise we just did, how many of you felt even a slight shift, a little calmer, more in control, or more grounded? If I could show you a clear, step-by-step way to stop the overwhelm, calm the anxious thoughts, and take back control of your life, would you be open to seeing it? Can I show you something? Can I have a raise of hands if anybody feels like joining? Okay. I want to give you the opportunity to take everything that we've covered today to the next level. You've seen the exercises, the strategies, and the mindset shifts. You've started to understand how the anxiety loop works and how to begin breaking it down. If you want to fully transform your life, you need the complete system, the step-by-step program that walks you through every single piece of the puzzle. That's why I created the Breaking the Anxiety Loop online course. And here's what you get. You get 47 comprehensive modules designed to address every single angle of anxiety. That is the mind, the body, and the triggers, with exercises, meditations, videos, and affirmation cards. It is online and self-paced, so you can go at your own speed and you can revisit lessons anytime, as many times as you want. You will have lifetime access. This becomes your personal toolbox forever. This is a proven system that helps you break the cycle so you can sleep better, think clearly, and feel more in control of your life again. So if you are ready to finally stop racing thoughts, sleep peacefully again, break free from the anxiety loop, and take control of your life, then join the D-Square online community and feel free to claim your Breaking the Anxiety Loop course at a 60% discount. This course normally sells for $7,999, but because you are joining me live today, I want to give you a 60% discount of the original price. That's full access to the 47 modules for a fraction of the cost, but only available to you who registered for this webinar. So tonight you get the full 47 module course that normally sells for $7,999 for only $2,999. I will be available after the webinar for 30 minutes where you can reach me either on WhatsApp, you can direct message me, or you can call me. And that is the link to join the D-Square online community. I will be sharing that with you in an email tomorrow morning as well. You can write that down, or you can actually click on the link. And there is my mobile number where you can phone me directly after this call. I will copy that link as well, and I will paste it into the comments of this call. Before we continue, are there any questions? I want to say, I'm going to stop the share so that I can actually see the audience. Are there any questions so far? Amia, yes, unmute your line and just ask your question. I would love to have some more interaction.
Hello. Thank you so much. It is really a very, very good course. To be honest with you, if I didn't do the previous one with you, I wouldn't have been at the better place that I am now. So it is an excellent course, and it feels like I have to do it again. Even if it's just to chat with you, because I think it's you also. But it really is, when you do the exercises, you get to the point of you understand that you actually are crippling yourself in some instances and how to get over that. And just doing it today makes me a little bit calmer after a very long day at work.
Oh, thank you, Amia.
It
That is
is,
really incredible.
yeah, but for me it's incredible to just be able to do these courses. So yes, you've helped me so much. So I would recommend, if there is anyone new here, you can do it. Sandra can
Thank
help you
you.
do it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your input. That's awesome. Honestly, I find myself stressing about everything, and it does. Let me just get back to the chat. Apologies, Zoom stopped working. Oh, that's you, Amir. Honestly, I find myself stressing about everything, and it does create butterflies. But Tyler, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to unmute your line and we can have a conversation quickly? Do you want to elaborate on that while I post the link? Thank you so much for joining. So the people that want to find out more and want to join the community, I just posted the link in the chat for tonight. I find myself stressing about everything, and it does create butterflies. My recommendation would be for you to identify what your triggers are. Because unless you identify your triggers, how are you going to address them? You have to identify the triggers, and you have to break the loop. And you can only break the loop once you know what is creating those triggers.
I think it's basically like okay, good evening everyone. I think
Hello.
it's mainly like fear of the unknown, fear of making mistakes. Okay, fine, I've been in a very toxic environment, and want to save myself, want to save my position. I think it's all of that generally in me create like those butterflies, and then I get tension headaches, and then struggle to sleep at night because now I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I think I really enjoyed the session. It's very helpful, so I just need to start working on that.
Thank you so much. Maybe one thing that I can add is, if you are in a situation where you don't feel comfortable, and if you're in a situation that is stressing you out, Ask yourself what is in your control. Focus on what you can control during that situation. And if it's not something that you can control, why waste your energy and your time on that? Put it to the side and only focus on the things that you can control. So you mentioned that you are constantly apprehensive about what is going to happen tomorrow. Only God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. None of us are going to know what's going to happen. So why do we literally have to worry about what is going to happen tomorrow? I've actually written this down. I'm reading a book at the moment by Gabrielle Bernstein, and the book's name is The Universe Has Got Your Back. I've only just started it, but I was lying in bed last night reading it on the tablet, and I took my phone and I took pictures of the text because I was afraid that I'm not going to find it again. And in there, it says that I am going to choose peace over fear. And I'm not going to let fear guide me in my way of what I will be doing going forward. Because we talked about the fear of the unknown and the fear of performance. Fear is part of this presentation, and fear is part of anxiety. So if you choose love and peace instead of fear, I would think you're already set up for a winning recipe going forward. That was just something that sort of grabbed me that I made a note of. Isel, you say, I really enjoyed the session and learned a lot from today. I feel anxious most of my day, so this helped me a lot. I struggle to address and identify my triggers as well since my anxiety is constant. Okay. Isel was part of the previous webinar that I had, and I gave all of them a free 30-minute session that we can talk about whatever you want. So Isel, we will talk about that on Monday in your session. And I would also like to gift each one of you as well with a free 30-minute session. And you come up with a topic of what you want to talk about. You decide what you want to reveal or what you want to discuss. I will be sending an email. Good timing. Gracie is just starting to bark. Okay, so I will be sending you an email on Monday morning with all the links to the online community, to my calendar where you can book sessions with, and also in the online community, I also show you the other courses that I do. I've got 2 signature courses. Let me just quickly mention them. I'm not going to go into detail. The one is about a toxic workplace, and it's called Rise Above. And the other one focuses on burnout, and that is called Power Up. It runs over 90 days, and that is the course that Amia was talking about earlier, that she completed. Well done. I'm so proud of you. Are there any more questions before we stop and we close down? Any more questions that I can help you with at the moment? If not, I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Join the community. You're not going to be sorry. And thank you so much. I will see you later. And book your 30-minute sessions on Monday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. It was absolutely lovely.
Thank you so much.
Many, many thanks.
I will be available for the next 30 minutes if somebody wants to reach out. Thank you.